Hey, you ready?
Let's do this.
Ready,
Steady.
remake.
Good evening and welcome to Ready Steady Remake, the world's greatest podcaster. I'm Richard Kelly and I'm joined by my co-host Rachel Thompson. What's happening?
What's happening, mate?
Yeah, man, I'm all good. So, mate, tell the people why we're here, what we're doing.
Well, Rich, this is our brand new podcast, and what we do every week is we take a classic film that we all know and love, and then talk about it, and then we remake it.
Yeah, we do. What we doing this week?
This week, Rich, we're going to be taking the most expensive movie to be filmed in the 20th century.
Yeah.
Not only that, it got 14 Oscar nominations, and not only that, Rich, it's the first movie to have ever grossed $1 billion.
Wow.
What do you think it's going to be?
By any chance, is it the Jim Cameron 1997 classic Titanic?
Titanic!
Oh.
I'm the king of the world!
Yes, we are doing Titanic this week. As I say, directed by James Cameron, who at this point in time could do no wrong. Tomo, if you're familiar with Titanic, Jim Cameron, you will know that he directed Terminator,
Yeah.
which was an instant classic. He then went on to do Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2, True Lies. He has a bit of time off, and then suddenly comes back with this idea that he's making a film called Titanic. Now, this is what the rumour mill was at the time, right? The studio, apparently, were absolutely terrified. They were convinced this film was going to be the film that destroyed the studio. It spiralled out of budget. Jim Cameron was making crazy demands. It was this huge, old school period romance film about a boat that sinks. People were like, this is going to bomb. What happened? $1 billion.
$1 billion.
$1 billion. Now, we were old enough to remember 1997.
I remember 1997.
I remember it so well.
I was 12.
I was 39 at the time. 97. That wasn't. I just started secondary school, and I remember that the world went Titanic mental.
This film, for me, Rich, I'm going to have to interrupt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. It began the obsession with the Titanic. for
Yeah, no,
me.
you're a bit obsessed, aren't you? You're into it. You're into the history of it and
do
all
you know
that
what?
stuff.
I when it came out, I became obsessed about it. I forgot about it.
Yeah.
And now that we're remaking it, I realise that
It's come back.
that I'm
It's come
obsessed
back.
with it again.
For real.
I've not stopped reading.
Are you like
shit
waking up in the
about
night
it.
like Vietnam vets on the
Yeah,
flashbacks?
like I'm screaming, iceberg straight ahead!
So, yeah, the studio was scared of it. They were worried. And then the film comes out.
Who
It's
was it
huge.
who made
James Cameron made
No,
it.
but what was the studio?
Why are you asking me questions that aren't embarrassing me on the podcast for? I don't know. Thinking, let's say...
You're like the
let's
movie
say,
nerd, you know
let's
everything.
say Paramount. Let's say Universal. I'll replace it later.
If you don't know the...
I'll replace it later. Yeah. Universal. But, so, the film comes out in 97, and I remember the world went Titanic mental. Do you remember a show called TFI
TFI Fridays with Chris Evans.
TGI Fridays is that delicious restaurant. Plug, send us some free burgers. But TFI was a show with Chris Evans, and I remember Kate Winslet went on that, and she was telling stories.
She's gorgeous.
That she is gorgeous. She's a wonderful English rose, which is her name in the
That's
film.
her name in the film.
But she came across really well. But she started to talk about how James Cameron was a bit of a ball breaker on set.
I know,
and
mate.
was pretty rough. And there were a lot of rumours about...
Do you know she got pneumonia?
She got pneumonia?
Pneumonia?
From filming the film?
Yeah, like, and to the point where she was so ill.
Yeah.
He was like, had to pretty much beg her to come back and to carry on filming.
Really?
She'd had enough.
That's amazing.
She was freezing, mate.
Yeah. I know that she was talking about how she had to piss in the dress on the boat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she was like, to wear all the layers and all the stuff, it gets soaking wet.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, oh, I really need to go for a wee and stuff. And he'd be like, mate, it's going to take too long. Do it in the water.
Fair
And Leo
enough.
Capro's there like, going, excuse me.
But you probably appreciate it because it goes a bit warm, doesn't it, mate?
I thought he was like, he appreciates it because he's just really
Do you
into
know
that
what
shit.
No.
I was like, mate.
Do you know what she did do as well when
What?
she first? Because she was a little bit apprehensive about meeting him because obviously Leonardo's Leonardo.
Yeah.
And she preempting the fact that she knew she was going to have to get naked in front of him for the famous painting scene.
Yeah.
Soon as she met him, she flashed him.
She flashed him them sweet, sweet jewels.
Yes.
For real?
Yes.
Wow.
And Leo went, nah.
I thought he went nice, but he went, nah, I'm not interested.
Not bothered.
Him and James Cameron threw a rock at her and ran away.
I'm a bit gutted actually because we were almost at one point going to be speaking to Leonardo at the end of the show.
I think we'll get Leonardo DiCaprio on the end of the show to have a chat with us.
No, I don't think it's going to happen.
We'll try, guys. We'll try.
Our producer's on it at the moment.
We'll try. We'll sort that out for us.
Sort it out, Nick.
So, talking about Jim Cameron and Kate Winslet, let's talk a little bit about Leo DiCaprio. Do you know that the studio were very much against casting Leonardo DiCaprio in the role? Now, Leo had been doing all right at this point. Leo's first film, one of my favourites, Critters 3. It's Leo's first film. It's a great movie. If you've never seen it, check it out. The critters invade a tower block in a city. But then, by this point, he'd already done What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Now,
yes,
he was Oscar
amazing.
nominated for that film.
Is that with Johnny Depp?
It's Johnny Depp, yeah. He plays a kid who's
Awesome.
mentally handicapped, and he's outstanding in that film. If you haven't seen What's Eating Gilbert Grape, do yourself a favour, go and watch it. But he'd done a lot of films where then he was on the scene. People were recognising this young kid. He'd done The Basketball Diaries.
He's also done, what was that film with Al Pacino? Was it Marvin's Room?
Robert De Niro.
Oh, Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Marvin's Room.
Same person.
But yeah, he'd done Basketball Diaries with Mark Wahlberg, which is one of Mark Wahlberg's
yes,
first
of course.
movies. Was also the film that got all the heat for. Do you remember that Columbine massacre? When the kids went and shot the school, they blamed that film. So Leo was in a bit of a weird place at that point because he'd been a golden boy, and suddenly fingers are pointing at him going, you've been in a film that people are blaming for this incident that happened. So the studio are like, we don't know if we want this kid messing around our film. We've got a new young guy that we're really into who we'd like to cast. One Matthew McConaughey.
I knew that.
Yeah, man.
Because actually, Kate Winslet did a
screen test with Matthew McConaughey.
with him.
Yeah.
Could you, all right.
I know, hey, Rose.
Rose, the Titanic's gone down.
Don't let go, Rose. I
Don't
don't know what
let
I sound like Forrest Gump. I'm like, don't let go, Rose.
Could you imagine? I can't see that.
I don't know, but I do like the fact that they met later on in life in the opening scene of Wolf of Wall Street. Well,
yeah,
and I think that was Matthew McConaughey just sort of showing off, like, trying to intimidate him a little bit. But yeah, so that was how the casting went there.
Do you like the movie?
All right, let's get down to brass tacks. I went to see Titanic when I was, 13, 14 years old. And back then, I was what you would call in these days a scally, right? And I went with a group of scally lads. There were about 6 of us, and we went to go and see this romantic film called Titanic. And mate, all 5 of us sat there, teary-eyed, loved every single second of it, and I'm sure we might have even done this when it finished. Woo! Like at the screen, might have even been 1 or 2 hand claps.
Really?
We were surrounded by middle-aged women, and they must have seen us walking in thinking, these lads have come to cop a little look at Kate Winslet's wonderful body. But no, we sat there and loved every second of it. I loved it, and to this day I still love it.
I love that. Why do you think it? Because I mean, I totally agree. Like, it's amazing. Why do you think it's so good? Do you think it's because it's a true story?
Now let's talk. I don't think it's so good. I like it.
No, you just said it's so
right,
good.
We need to talk about this a little bit. I think it's a great film because I saw it at that age. In later years, when I've gone back to it, I find the story to be a little bit manipulative. It is the most paint-by-numbers romance story you've ever seen. And I think that's why it resonated so well with so many people, because it really is your most bare-bones classic romance with a mustache-twirling villain, an evil auntie who's you can't go out with that kid, he don't make enough money. And then you've got to see when she goes downstairs and mixes with the poor, and she's like, oh my God, so many poor people. And they're like, come and have a dance there now. And they all have a big dance. It's a little cheesy.
All you've just said to me then is it's so good.
But yeah, I think it's a little cheesy. But that's what I mean, though. I think because it's that cheesy and that simple, that's why it resonated with so many people. How about you? What are your opinions on Titanic?
I loved it, mate. I've loved it, and I watched it again quite recently just to kind of, revisit it, and it's still just
holds up.
Yeah, totally. I think I'm not going to cry, and I just cry again.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, though. Like every time there's a
but
moment,
I'm a
the
sucker
music
for a love
swells.
story, mate. I'm a sucker for
I know.
a little love story, and the hero, and the fact that she, and for me, it's the history of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like a piece of religion. The Titanic.
Jim Cameron was very, very, very strict when it came to trying to be historically accurate.
Would you know? Actually, he apart from like when it's in modern day,
Yeah.
when we're with what's his name,
No, Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton. Apart
Rest
from
in
when we
peace.
were with Bill Paxton, all the actual Titanic footage.
Yeah.
The length of that
Yeah.
because it's about 3 hours in total, but the length of that was 2 hours and 40 minutes, which was the actual time it took for the Titanic to sink.
All right,
that's
pretty amazing.
how on it
Yeah,
James
that's
Cameron.
pretty amazing.
And he also made sure that all of his extras, it was like over 1,000 extras
Yeah.
in this film. He made sure that every single one of them had knew who they were on the Titanic.
From real life?
From real life.
Oh.
Real life people on the Titanic. And they all had backstories.
Yeah.
Which is like how
That shows
amazing.
love.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
so
so much.
care and love for the subject matter. innit?
And I think he jokingly said in an interview at one point, like, the only reason I've done this film is because I just actually wanted to go down
And looking at myself.
and look. Because the first 5-10 minutes
Yeah.
of the film is literally footage under the ocean.
I know this because apparently because originally when they sent cameras down there, they'd use like drones and stuff, and he forefronted the camera technology that could withstand that pressure to then go down there. And he is now apparently one of the few people who has spent more time in the wreckage of the Titanic than the people that were actually on the Titanic
No
when it was
way.
afloat, which is crazy. Yeah,
He loved it.
he does love
And
it.
the fact that it shows, I think, do you know what I mean?
It shows that his love affair with the sea as well. Like, I love James Cameron, but he's a madman.
Yeah.
Like, the man is crazy, and
Yeah, what was you telling me before?
He
about?
he's the only one of the few people to go to the deepest point of the ocean. He went to the Mariana Trench, which is 6 miles deep, on his own for a laugh.
On his own.
On his own, mate. Got in a sub and he went, see you later, motherfuckers. And just went down in the ocean.
Wonder what he did down there.
But he had a potter about, didn't he? He had a lovely time. He went, there's a fish, there's a rock. Oh, bit of sand. He had a great time. But back to Titanic, the film.
Back to Titanic film.
We spoke quite a bit about the romance and that sort of stuff. So I want to talk actually about the actual sinking of the Titanic.
Yeah.
The last half an hour of the film.
Yeah.
Right. Talking about special effects. You go back now and you can watch films from 5 years ago and the effects are so dated, they take you right out of it. Why does Titanic still hold up so well then, visually? What do you think?
What do you mean?
The way that it doesn't look, to me, it doesn't look dated.
Oh, right.
The
So
effects
you're
don't
saying
look dated to me, it
watching-
holds up.
watching
And
it now?
my response to that would be, I just gave you a question which I'm going to answer.
I
know. The practicalness of the sets.
Okay.
Right.
So they actually built it.
Yeah,
didn't
if
they?
that
They built
film was
the
today,
ship.
the whole ship would be CG. It'd be filmed on a green
Yeah.
screen. The water would be CG. Everything would be CG. The painstaking man hours it must have taken to recreate, like the big staircase.
Yeah, the
with
detail.
it's unbelievable,
Yeah.
and they actually flood that room. They can only
Yeah.
do it once.
Yeah, one shot they had to do because that was the end of
It's
it.
unbelievable, and it was the biggest water tank ever used for film. It affects other films being made 'cause it
Yeah.
took so long to use this tank. It's incredible.
So do you know? I mean, I don't know this, but do you know when it's actually tilted up
Yeah.
the ship,
Yeah.
and obviously they're all like skimming down
Yeah,
and
yeah,
falling
yeah.
down? Did they actually?
No, that would be that's a mix of CG and practical stuff.
Okay.
So they built like half the ship or something like that, and then had to like
No, I
sort of
think they
trace that
built
into
the
the
ship.
pier. They didn't build the whole ship.
They
Tom.
built the ship.
They did not build.
We need
the,
to find
They
out,
did
'cause-
not rebuild the whole of the Titanic. Are you
There's a
insane?
documentary on YouTube.
Did you know, mate, George Lucas actually built the Death Star? Are you aware of that? That was no moon. That was a real Death Star. It's still up in the sky. You can see it. What are you talking about?
Mate, I was on YouTube
He
earlier.
built the Titanic.
Go on YouTube tonight, and I bet there's a documentary.
Where they built
saying-
parts of the Titanic. It's called a set. They didn't build the Titanic. You off your nut? Just build a boat and put it in the ocean.
I thought they built it.
Mate, they built a bit of the boat and put it in a tank and filmed it.
Oh, I've had this all wrong.
Yeah.
I've been telling everyone.
Yes. How many people you told that James Cameron rebuilt the
So many
Titanic?
people.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Sorry, producer Nick's going to chip in
Go
here.
on.
I'm just looking at the statistics here, and it says that where are we?
Yes, Nick.
The
ship was built to full scale.
Yes.
Sorry.
Hang on.
Yeah,
keep going,
take
keep going,
that back.
keep going. Meaning the ship was built to full scale doesn't mean they built a whole ship. It means the parts of the ship they built were to scale.
You have just
They didn't
been-
build the whole ship.
Nick is the producer. Nick
I
is
know,
just
but Nick's information is wrong.
Say more things.
They built parts of the ship
Shut
to
this
scale.
man up.
They
Shut
did
him
not
up.
build the whole ship.
You just said built
Parts
to
of the,
scale.
so parts of the ship were built to scale.
Okay, do you want me to clarify this?
Yeah, go
Yes,
on.
please.
If I'm wrong, that's it. It's over for me.
The ship was built to full scale. But Lamonti's one of the designers. Remove redundant sections of the superstructure and forward well deck for the ship to fit in the tank.
Thank
with
you.
the remaining sections filled with digital models.
Nailed it. They built part of the ship.
I think. Do you
Nick,
know what?
thank you so much for the facts then.
Thank you so much, Nick, for
Oh,
proving
God,
me
I'm
right.
so glad that I was right. What are you talking
You
about?
need to apologise.
You need to apologise to me.
Right, we
You've
need
just-
to move on. We need to move on.
If anyone is out there listening, please tweet in and let us know who you think is right on who built the Titanic. Was it James Cameron or Rachel Thompson? Let's carry on, mate. Go on.
I forgot what we're talking about now.
Talking about the end of the Titanic. Well, moving on. Let's talk casting of the Titanic, because we spoke a bit about Leo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. Obviously, Kate Winslet had been about. She was in Peter Jackson's Beautiful Creatures, which you've never seen. Watch it; it's great.
Yeah, we all know Kate Winslet.
Yeah, but
let's talk about the other ones.
About supporting cast,
Yeah,
all right? Because I need to feel that I need to talk about my main man, one
Billy
of my
Zane.
favourite underrated actors of all time, the great Mr. Billy Zane.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I love Billy Zane.
Where's he gone?
Well, this is the thing, right?
Nick, while we're talking about Billy Zane, will you have a little look-see?
I only kind of know a bit about Billy Zane. The last thing I think he was in an episode of Legends of Tomorrow, where he played a circus leader a few weeks ago that I watched on telly.
Okay.
Yeah, but Billy Zane had a few big films. He was in The Phantom. If you saw The Phantom, one of Catherine Zeta-Jones's first American films, which is really good.
Okay.
But for anyone who's out there who's going, I wish I could just watch a fun horror film one night, go and watch a film called Tales from the Crypt, Demon Night. And you will see the greatest performance given by a male actor ever of all time, okay? Billy Zane in that film is sensational. There is literally a moment when he punches a man's head off. His head comes off, all right? Guys, Billy Zane is out there doing the Lord's work, so get on it and go and watch
We
Demon
need
Night.
to find Billy Zane.
I'm going to get Billy Zane on
We
the
need
phone.
to get him on the show. Nick, have you got anything on him for us?
Yeah, he is still grafting. He was in Zoolander, of course, 2016. He's made a couple of films since. He was made the Sniper series.
Okay,
he was in
okay.
both the Sniper movies. And in 2018, next year, he's starring as King Balak in Samson.
Oh.
Well,
So there you go.
Billy Zane.
He's still about.
I'm a big fan. I'm glad he's still about. He's also a very handsome, bald
He's a
man.
very handsome
We
man.
like that. He was with Kelly Brook for a while. Do you
Was
remember
he?
Kelly Brook?
Was he really?
She's dead now. She's not. She's still out there.
Rest in peace, Kelly Brook.
I know. Who we got next? Bernard Hill. Do you know who Bernard Hill was in the film?
He was the captain.
He's the captain, yeah, man. The captain.
Aye, aye, captain.
And he has that really beautiful moment at the end when he stands.
He's a lovely captain, I thought. He's no, honestly, if I were to imagine, I struggled with when we get to it later, the remake, in recasting my captain because he was perfect for me, and
was
I'm
really good.
obsessed with the
What was
captain.
the Scouts thing that he was in? Gives us a job. What
Gives
was
a
that?
jo-
Nick,
Boys from the Black stuff.
Boys from the Black
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, man, that thing. I've never seen it. Everyone tells me it's amazing.
Everyone I know is in it.
I only know, really.
Yeah.
Me mum's in it. Me nan's in it.
Me dog's in it.
But he was also in Lord of the Rings. Played Theoden in Lord of the Rings.
And
Was it
do you know,
Theoden?
I'm going to
Think
tell
so.
you something now
Please do.
about the real captain of the Titanic.
Yeah.
I've been to his house.
For real.
Yeah, because he lives in Waterloo.
Get out.
He lived in Waterloo.
Get out.
In Liverpool, yeah.
No way.
For about 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, when I touched on it earlier, after I watched the Titanic back in '87, I became obviously slightly obsessed with the movie, and I made my mum take me to Crosby Library, and for hours I would look at old newspaper cuttings, basically just looking back on the history of the Titanic. I read tons of information about all the the different people that are on the Titanic, and through that obsession I then found out that he lived 10 minutes around the corner from me.
That's mad.
Mate, I went to his house and I knocked on the door
And he answered.
and he answered
And he was like, I've been alive all this time.
and he was like, Dad, God damn it. But nobody answered, and I was
Yeah.
absolutely gutted. But there's she still lives there, the woman, and she's wrote a book and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, Marine Crescent in
Yeah.
Waterloo.
Amazing.
Number 16,
Yeah.
I think he lives in.
Some other characters I want to bang on a bit back for you, mate, first. David Warner. Now, you might not know the actor's name, but David Warner plays Billy Zane's kind of right-hand man. He has the gun, he's watching the bullets.
Oh,
sort of,
the
evil dude.
the
sort of his
evil older
bodyguard.
guy, yeah.
That guy.
And he's like, you tell me, Leo, if you had time to open your shoelaces and take off your jacket. You know the bit when she's about to fall off and she's like about to commit suicide?
Yeah, and he clocks on to
Yeah,
the
and
fact that they're actually
that's the moment.
they were trying to goose on top of the boat, and he's like, I'm on to you.
He's like, if she was about to jump off dead quick, then
Yeah.
why have you undone your boots?
Then why you got your pants off?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
why'd you cock out?
Yeah, I remember that bit. But fascinating fact of the show, David Warner, that guy, was originally cast as Freddy Krueger.
Oh, really?
True story, mate. Yeah, but then he dropped out, couldn't do it. They originally wanted Freddy to be an old man, but they were like, he can't do it, so let's get a younger guy in it. And that's where
that's interesting.
Robert, what's his name? It doesn't matter. We're talking about Titanic, not Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Also, I want to talk a little bit about Molly Brown. He's the character,
Okay.
but Kathy Bates plays her.
She's awesome.
And she's great in the film. I really, really like her in it. But again, she's one that's evidence for me as that sort of pantomime character.
Because she was an actual person on the
Molly
Titanic.
Brown was, yeah, she was. But it's the whole sort of like, Jack, come with me and I'll give you a tuxedo for the party. I don't know, it's some of that bit stuff I find a little bit pantomime with the characters, and the strokes are a little broad. But I think that's why it's got such a wide audience.
But I think he needed that.
Yeah. All right, then.
So, do you think it's time to speak to our special guest?
Talk to me about this special guest. Talk to me.
Okay, mate. So, I've got a desire throughout each of our podcasts to basically speak to extras from said movie. So to kind of glorify our extras, give them a bit of credit, because obviously it's easy to go to the big names straight away. So I had a little look on IMDb and I found this gentleman. I'm so sorry, and we're going to try and confirm it with him now, but I can't pronounce. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his surname correctly, but it's Liam Tuohy or Liam Tuohy or Liam
Let's go
Tuohy.
Liam Tuohy for now.
Liam Tuohy. Okay, so Liam Tuohy, he's a Dublin-born actor who now lives in California, in LA, and he basically was in the Titanic, and he played the role of Chief Baker, and he was only had a small couple of lines, and he kind of interacted with Rose, and we'll put it out on our Twitter, the actual scene that he's in, but he was a real life hero who was one of the last survivors off the Titanic, the guy who played. So we're gonna phone him now.
Get out.
In California, it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, 10:30, whatever it is in the morning.
Give him a bell.
And we're going to give him a little
Give him a
call.
bell. Let's talk to
And we're
this
just
fella.
going to chat to him for about 5 minutes.
Let's give him a chat.
What a sweetheart. Right, we're calling him Nick. Let's call him. I'm nervous.
You should be nervous.
Are you?
Hello, Richard.
You're right.
How are you?
I'm very well, and yourselves?
Very
Hope you're
well.
not too cold over there.
Yeah, it's freezing.
It's freezing.
Oh.
Thank you so
Oh, dear.
much for speaking to us. Like, we really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure indeed.
So we
So, are we live on the air, or are we just chatting between one another? What's the deal right now?
yeah, we're chatting live. We're on the podcast Ready Steady Remake. Basically, we're just. What was that?
That's my little chihuahua.
Amazing.
Amazing.
That's Cobra Commander.
Cobra Commander. G.I. Joe. Amazing.
Awesome name. So Liam, first of all, before we get cracking, please tell us how you pronounce your surname.
Chewy.
Tuohy.
Tuohy, there you
Okay,
go.
we just had a bit of a discussion about how to pronounce this, and we didn't want to kind of get it wrong, so it's Tuohy. So you are in Los Angeles as we speak?
Yes, I moved over here in sort of early 90s. Been here ever since. And, just working away in the industry overall, Was formerly at your game back in Dublin. I used to be a DJ on radio and in the clubs back in the day as well. I'm actually on air at the moment as we speak.
Oh.
So we're live on your radio station?
Well, no, the stuff I'm doing at the moment that's live on the air is actually pre-recorded.
Oh,
Okay.
brilliant. I was going to say, we saw the radio ruining your show.
Double whammy. So yeah, basically, our show is kind of revisiting the movie Titanic. What we do each week is we take a famous film and we talk about it, discuss it, love it, and then we just try and remake it in our own stupid, silly way. But we also wanted to kind of reach out to people who've been part of creating the movie. So we checked you out and we loved you instantly, and we just wanted to hear kind of what it was like for you working on that film.
It was a wonderful experience. It was all down to a little bit of a sidebar on the situation. It was down to an American actor called Scott Wilson, who was protesting to our guild over here, Screen Actors Guild, about the lack of auditions for actors over here for the project.
Okay.
And when he protested, they got onto the movie company, the guild did, and as a result, we all got auditions over here because they were, previously they were only auditioning in Britain for it and Ireland, I believe. And so we all got a shot in on it, and I got brought in for this character, Baker Jochen, and the rest is, as they say, history from there on. Like, I was very fortunate to get cast in the role, and it was supposed to be 2 weeks of a shoot for me, and it ended up 6 months down in Mexico.
6 months? Wow. So you were there for the whole 6 months?
Yeah, with a Christmas break in between.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was, because my character was tied to the sinking of the ship and was kind of tied to the Jack and Rose characters, they had to sort of keep me on board for that period of time, which was fortunate for me. I was very lucky from that perspective of it,
Just wondering, what was your experience like working with James Cameron as a director? There were some rumours that he was quite a feisty director on set. How was he working with?
I'll tell you, he's very professional. He's got an intellect that is quite high, as you can appreciate, and he kind of, as a result of that, because he's so invested in the project, he loses patience maybe sometimes, for the want of a better expression for it, when things are not happening, because he's got so many things going on in his head at the same time. And that's, I think, what happens in people's minds, that because he's so professional at what he does, they interpret it, or they misinterpret it as being him being sort of a hard taskmaster. And it's not so much that he just wants to get the gig done, so to speak. And I observed him for all that time, and I found him to be an absolute genius at work.
Well, he certainly gets the results, doesn't he?
So Liam, remind obviously people who I can't remember, but what was your kind of section of the movie, like what your interactions with with Rose and Jack, the characters?
James Cameron actually told me that he wrote their characters out of my original character. What happened to them on the sinking of the ship, hence my previous remark about being tied on that for so long, for 6 months. So all the thinking sequence that you observe from the time I pick up Kate when she drops and all the way to the actual sinking of the ship is that actual sequence of, you're watching what happened then, but it's kind of a 3-in-1 person, if you'll pardon the pun.
Mm-hmm.
The actual sequence of events. And I don't know how much you guys have researched on this particular character, the Baker, but he was actually somewhat of a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And actually the last man to step off the ship and didn't even get his hair wet.
Wow.
At the tank. And because he had so much alcohol in his system, he didn't get hypothermia, which he should have done, by all accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of that, survived, climbed onto an upturned lifeboat and got back onto the Carpathia.
Amazing.
And it was like I did a lot of research before and since, and I just found him to be a fascinating character. One of the little anecdotal pieces I discovered when he remarried many years later. The lady he remarried had a daughter from a previous marriage, or whatever setup she had, and the daughter was called Rose.
Oh, no way! That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was wasn't he from Liverpool? The character
he
that
was from
played?
Birkenhead.
Birkenhead, and then because I was reading up a little bit about him as well, and then obviously once he kind of got back on his feet, once he hit New York, he then returned to Liverpool.
Yeah, and he ended up in the States in New Jersey in the U.S. He was on another ship, the USS Oregon, which also sank.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow, my God.
And he survived that as well.
That's amazing.
The world's luckiest man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that cracked me up when I saw that one, you know. And but I mean, as I say, it was a terrific experience playing him. I was so sad afterwards that there weren't more scenes kept in the film that we actually shot. I mean, one particular scene that's in the outtakes, that's on the I think the anniversary disc that came out a few years ago, was him tossing out the deck chairs for people to hang on to. He realised there weren't enough lifeboats, and he tossed out a bunch of deck chairs while he swigged away the flask and all that sort of thing, you know.
That's amazing. So, and he actually did that?
Yes. Oh, yes. In real life, he did, and he's far more categorised in the 1958, I believe, film of it, A Night to Remember.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, again, here's another little coincidence for you. He was played by Charles Rose.
No way, another Rose.
Roses all over the place.
Roses all over the place.
But yeah, as I say, he's a very interesting man. I've read up on quite a bit on over the years, you know, and it's just found him to be a great character. I just, as I say, wish in hindsight more of him had been featured in the film to give people a better perspective of what he was about. Because to anybody watching the movie, it's just this guy in a white suit in the back of the ship as it's sinking, swigging a flask.
Amazing.
And that flask, by the way, was not in the original script. I walked up to the director, to Mr. Cameron, one day on the set, and I said, "See this flask? It's as old as the ship. It was left to me by my dad, and his dad left it to him." And he countered that, the beggar wouldn't get drunk on a fifth, as they call the nagging over here, you know. And I said, yeah, but the alcoholic always had the backup. And so later that night, the winds kicked in, and he couldn't keep shooting because it was in icy waters, as you know. So he had to do tight shots, and he looked at me and he says, your hair is quite tight, it doesn't move very much. Get me a couple of stunt guys. Okay, you guys jump off the back of the ship, and we had this deck which was 100 feet in the air, almost right angles, you know. So he had two stunt guys jump off that, and then he says, Liam, you go and jump. Oh, no, wait, turn back in. Now take the flask out and take a swig of that. So that's how I got my dad's flask in the Titanic.
Wow.
What a great story.
That is awesome.
Liam, thank you so much for spending the time to speak to us today. You've really given us some great stories. Thank you.
Yeah, and good luck with the show. I'll try and listen in the future.
Yes.
I'll try and get an app for it over here. I presume there's one available.
Definitely, we'll definitely drop you a line after the show, and we'll stay in touch. But honestly, thank you so much for speaking to us. It's been amazing.
My pleasure. Best of luck with the ongoing show.
You too, Liam.
Take care now. Bye bye.
Oh my God, how amazing was he?
Mate, that was unreal.
That was awesome.
That was so cool.
What a sweetheart.
I know, we had some real juicy stories as well.
I can't believe we've just spoken to someone who was on the Titanic. Not the original, the film.
He was in the film Titanic. Like, if asking about James Cameron, he's like, yeah, he was. He was really short of patience and stuff.
I know.
Fascinating.
So interesting.
If anyone's out there who's like, who is this guy in the film? Go back and watch the film. He's in the Chef Whites. There's a bit at the end when Rose falls over. And what does he say to her, Tomo?
He goes, I've got you, miss.
He does at the very end when they're on the top and the boat's about to sink. They turn to him and he takes a swig of his whiskey and gives them a look as if to say, whoa.
Oh God, we're going down.
Yeah, but mate, Liam, thank you so much. That was incredible.
Thank you so much, Liam. What a legend. Rich.
What?
I think it's time.
You know what time it is, don't you?
It's Ready, Steady Remake
Get
time.
ready. Get steady.
Hey, you ready?
Let's do this.
Ready?
Steady.
Remake.
All right, who's going first? You or me?
I don't know. I'll go first.
Go on then. Here we go. This is Rachel Thompson's
Don't big it up.
remake.
Don't big it up.
It's going to be the best film that anyone out there has ever heard. I myself am waiting with bated breath.
You bastard.
Go on.
Okay, right. Before I get into it, I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory because there's a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding the Titanic. I don't know if you know. But one of them is called The Mummy. Not The Mummy, the movie.
Is this about a mummy on the Titanic? Yes.
Listen. Okay, so the story goes that listed on the Titanic's manifest was basically there was a tomb kind of being transported.
Like a sarcophagus kind of thing?
Yeah, a sarcophagus.
Yeah.
And it was of an Egyptian princess called Amun-Ra, I think.
Amun-Ra?
Amun-Ra?
Wow.
Do you know her?
Yeah, I know Amun-Ra.
Yes.
I was at Anand's last week.
So she was in a... What did you say that before? Sarcophagus?
Sarcophagus?
Sarcophagus. Like esophagus?
That's an esophagus is in your throat, mate.
Okay.
A sarcophagus is
Okay,
what
well, she's chilling out in her
esophagus.
throat.
Yeah. Go on.
Anyway, so this Egyptian princess chilling out in an esophagus was getting transported on the Titanic. Skip back. The first time this was ever discovered was in Luxor in the late 1890s by a team of English archaeologists.
Yeah.
Okay? And they loved it.
Yeah.
And the moment that the came into contact with it, though, however, sickness, misfortune, and death.
When the archaeologists got in touch with this sarcophagus?
Yeah.
Wow.
Literally, the three of them died.
You're telling me it's an Egyptian curse?
There's an Egyptian curse, okay? Now, it just basically seemed that whoever came into contact with it was basically going to be plagued with some kind of horrific death or, mates who just broke their arm or something.
All right.
I don't know. Something bad happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, skip forward. No one kind of claimed, because this tomb got shipped over to England. No one claimed it because they'd all died. So they put it in the British History Museum for research. Now, story goes there was a worker who worked there and took a photograph of it. And as he was taking a photograph, what he witnessed was so disturbing, was so horrific. He shot himself in the head. He shot himself. Stick with me, mate. So,
What's going on?
so no one wanted to hang out with this tomb because it was like
I'm not
shit
surprised
was
if people
going
are
down.
shooting themselves in
Apart
the
from
face.
this American guy,
Yeah.
who was like, I don't believe in all of this baloney.
Was it Dr. Indiana Jones himself? Yeah.
I don't believe in this baloney. I want that tomb for myself. So he decides. So he decides to ship it over on
the
yours
Titanic.
truly, the RMS Titanic. Captain Smith wasn't too sure about it. He was like, oh, I don't know, things might happen.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. There's people out there who blame the curse of the tomb.
Well, give me the remake then.
So that's my remake.
You just want to tell that story? Where's Jack and Rose?
Oh, they're on it. Okay. So they're in it. Okay, so I'm going to set it in the style of like a bit of a...
Is it like an adventure film?
Like an adventure, like
The Mummy?
a bit... No, but not The Mummy, because... What's a good
Which
movie?
one? The 1999 Mummy? The Steven Soderbergh... Not Steven Soderbergh.
I'm not basing it on The Mummy. This is the Titanic.
I know, yeah, but I'll give me a vibe. I want to know what your film's
Opening scene.
like. Yes.
Opening scene. I'm going to go to the British History Museum and I'm going to show that clip of that guy taking a photograph of the tomb, and then he goes nuts. So that's the opening scene, okay? And we're like, what is going
All
on
right,
here?
yeah, right.
And then American archaeologist guy who I'm going to give to John Favreau.
Yeah.
What do you think?
John Favreau?
Yeah, he's going to be the guy.
He's the
He's
archaeologist.
shipping it over, yeah.
John Favreau. I like John Favreau, but okay, yeah.
So he's going to go and speak to Captain Smith, who I'm going to give to Anthony Hopkins.
That's actually a good shout.
Yeah, do you
I can
think?
see it. That's a good shout. Oh, yeah,
Okay,
I'll give you
so
that.
he's going to go and have a little private chat with Anthony and be like, listen, I'm going to pay you a lot of money. I'm going to pay you a lot of dollar.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this tomb on your ship. And he's not happy about it, mate. He's not happy. Captain Smith is having nightmares. He's having premonitions,
Yeah.
which is also a true fact.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go back to the boat, and we know the tomb is hanging out. And basically,
It's not a tomb.
it's a tomb.
A tomb is where it's the hole you put somebody in. You can't take a tomb. A tomb is a structure. A tomb is a
It's
solid
just
place.
easier to say than esophagus.
All right. Fair enough.
Everyone knows what I mean, okay?
All right, I'm with that. What?
Okay. So We're going to go back. So that's just like, rather than doing that old woman story,
Yeah.
we're going to do the tomb story.
All right, so we're sort of
Okay.
replacing that
Yeah,
the ocean
yeah.
jewel with this this coffin with a
Yes.
with a cursed
So
mummy.
So we're replacing it with that. Okay? So
All right, yeah.
Are you with me?
I'm with you now. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in it.
And now Jack, who is still in it,
Yeah.
he is a time traveller.
What is that? What is going on? What? What about?
What? For something. Why are you laughing at my remake?
I'm not laughing. Keep going. Keep going.
So he basically time travel onto the boat to try and save the tomb because he knows what's going to happen. But then bumps into Rose, who cocks up the plan because he starts falling in love with her.
Why does he have to be a time traveller? Can't he be somebody who knows about the cars? Can he not just...
Yeah, from the future.
What is it from the future? Can't he just be somebody there who's like, if he's in the future...
Because he wants to save the Titanic.
Why did he go back before the Titanic then and stop and putting the sarcophagus on the boat in the first place?
He tried, but there's not enough time in the film, so we're just going to get on the Titanic.
All right, I'm with you, I'm
so
with
he's
you.
from the future, he's like, I need to save the Titanic from the cares of the tomb,
Yeah.
so go get this esophagus and
Yeah.
throw it overboard to get rid of it.
Didn't think to bring any new lifeboats with him or a big radiator or anything. Like, what's it called?
A radiator.
It's a big block of ice. Melt that shit. Everyone's happy.
Well, it turns out that Jack, basically, that's where, you know, when they're heading for the iceberg, because they're actually heading for the iceberg still.
Yeah.
He's having a kerfuffle with Captain Smith.
He's fighting the lovely, humble captain.
He's going, Captain Smith, we need to get the tomb off the boat.
And he's like, it's not happening, lad.
Captain Smith's, no, we've got to keep going. And they get distracted and forget about the fact that there's the iceberg on the way.
No.
And they have a kerfuffle on the
Forgets
wheel.
about the most pivotal point in the history that he's going back to. What a tragedy.
So they have a kerfuffle with the wheel and they go, oh, and turn. They end up boshing into the iceberg.
Yeah.
So poor old time traveller Jack actually just causes the collision.
Oh, so all along Jack caused it. So if he hadn't gone back, there never would have been an iceberg
No,
in the first
it was
place.
his fault. There you go. Scene, film. What do you think?
What's it called?
Titanic, the curse. or the curse of Titanic.
Right, I'm slow clapping. Without doubt, you've got my money. I want to see this film.
I'd watch it.
I would watch that. I would watch that film.
And
if
I've
someone
got-
said to me there's a time travelling Titanic coming out, I'm there on opening day. I'm there.
But yeah, there you go.
All right then.
Buy your tickets.
All right.
Right, your turn.
It's my turn. At the end of this, guys, we want you to tweet in and tell us whose story you think is the best. Is it Tomo's Titanic adventure or my Titanic story? All right, opening scene. Now, imagine opening scene. We see different shots of different characters on the English channel. There we got a Rose character, a Jack character, maybe some of the other upper class characters and some of the underclass characters. And they each get delivered an invitation. And inside the invitation is a ticket to the Titanic. We're like, who are these characters that are all getting these random invitations? They then get on the Titanic. When they get there, they are called into a meeting. They go in, and do you remember the guy who designed the Titanic? It's that guy.
Andrews.
Yes, and he tells them that on the Titanic is that jewel, that heart of the ocean stone. It doesn't belong to Rose anymore. It's just somebody else's on there, and they are on there to steal the jewel. Do you get me? Ocean's 11 on the Titanic.
And they're all involved.
They're all involved, and they're all different level of thief, and they've all come on the Titanic to steal this jewel. They've been hired to do it. But
Do they want to?
of course they want to. It's the
steal it?
greatest jewel you've ever seen. They're blown away by it. They're like, I can't believe we've got a chance. Ocean's 11 on the Titanic.
So did they just willy-nilly just accept going on the Titanic?
Well, at first they're like, who is this invitation? It's too juicy to not. It's the most beautiful ship ever made. Let's go on that. And they get there and they're like, oh, who's called us together? And then maybe there's a minute when they're all around the table and Jack's like, Rose, I should have guessed you'd be here. She's like, Jack, I thought I'd be working with a better class of criminal. Ba-doodly-doo. All that sort of stuff going on. And then they all go on it, and there's various different things they've got to get through. Like
what?
Maybe it's like, we've got to get a copy of the key to open that door. So there's a bit when they're in like a ballroom and someone's got to steal a key. Or maybe there's a bit when they're like, we need to get a path from the lower deck to the upper class deck. So we've got to figure out a decent route and all
to
this
get
stuff.
into the
to get
jewel.
into the vault to get the jewel.
So who gets it?
Well, this is the thing, right? Jack and Rose, they kind of don't get on at the start. She's all posh. She's like, a by the books crook. He's, a Jack the lad, doesn't care. He's a bit reckless, a bit rough and ready. But you know what they say, don't you?
What did he say?
Opposites attract. And then to start getting busy, we keep the whole scene in the car with the steam and the hand sliding down. They become romantically involved. Maybe one of the guys is against them. Maybe the Billy Zane character is also a criminal, and he's like, I don't like the way you two are getting so close together. I thought we're meant to be stealing a jewel,
Is Samuel
not
L.
each other's
Jackson playing him now?
hearts. Yes, Samuel Jackson is playing him. Yeah. He's like, let's get him off. So then what happens is they steal the jewel. But guess what happens just when the jewel's stolen?
What happens?
Iceberg, dead ahead. Yeah.
Why do you say dead ahead?
What is it? What is the real word?
It's straight ahead.
Iceberg, straight ahead.
ahead.
Is it not iceberg, dead ahead?
No, it's iceberg, straight ahead. What's dead ahead? What does that
Iceberg is
even-
dead ahead.
Mate.
Is dead ahead not a saying? For real, I've been saying dead ahead since I was a kid. For serious.
For serious?
This is like that time I was saying Tupperware forever, and I thought it pronounced Tupperware. Turns out it's Tupperware.
Yeah, and what do you call crumpets as well?
That's a pie clip. That's a Brummie thing now. That's a Brummie thing, man. We call crumpets pie clips, and we call forward rolls gambols.
And you
Deal
say
with it.
straight ahead is dead ahead.
He's dead ahead.
All right.
Iceberg, fucking dead ahead. Then the iceberg hits,
Yeah.
and all the criminals have to turn to each other and say, what do we do now? Do we keep this stone and get off safe? Maybe we do some other people
All
over.
get in a lifeboat together.
We were all crooks anyway, so let's go and kick these women and children out of here, blag that lifeboat. But then Jack and Rose are like, we don't just steal jewels, we've stolen each other's hearts. So they take the jewel and they go, throw it into the ocean, and then they frantically try to save everybody else.
Really?
Yeah, man.
That's how you're ending it?
That's how I'm ending it. And then it ends
That
with...
surprises me.
And nah, man, because the thing is, already my film is incredible bad taste to all the people
I
that
know, I
were on the
did think
Titanic.
that.
But yeah, man, let's go on a happy ending. So at the end, they sacrifice their life of crime to help other people. To help other people.
Do what happens to Jack and Rose? Do they
So-
have that scene?
So at the end, Jack and Rose, right? They've done this whole thing where they're like, we've saved the people, forget about the jewel, and they're all there in the little lifeboats, and they're all like sort of getting rescued. In the distance, we see the jewel floating on the water,
Yeah.
and Jack and Rose sort of give each other a look,
Start swimming
as
towards
if to
it.
go, let's go for it, and they start swimming towards it,
Yeah.
right? And she's like, no, Jack, just don't take it, Jack. And he's like, we'll never get this chance again, Rose, never get it again. And he finds it and he puts it on, but he starts to weigh him down in the water. And she's like, just leave it, Jack, just leave it. He's like, no, I need the jewel. And he starts to drown, and then I don't know, Batman comes in and saves him.
That is terrible.
That's
terrible.
Ocean's 11 on the Titanic.
Is that what the film's called?
No, it's called Titanic. Thick as thieves.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Already,
it's directed
I'm
by
buying.
a guy who directed Baby Driver, so he knows to set up a heist.
Who's playing Jack?
Jack is Zac Efron. It's comedy. It's comedy.
Who's
Rose,
playing Rose?
Maisie Williams.
Okay.
Yeah, she's playing Rose. Yeah, see, so you like that one, don't you? There we go.
Yeah.
Pulled it back last minute.
That's the only bit I like.
Mate, listen, it's a good movie.
It's not as good as Titanic, The Curse.
Nothing's as good as Titanic the Curse. All right, guys. So there are our remakes. Tweet us in at remake.
I'm just going to quickly butt in here. That's it, Rich. You go with a comedy based around one of the greatest tragedies of humankind. Yeah?
Yeah, man. Tune in next week for my version of Schindler's List, which stars Eddie Murphy. It's a social film.
Nick, it's terrible, isn't it? Nick, it's terrible.
I think everyone knows that making a heist caper comedy set on the Titanic is a way of printing your own money. It's going to be a success and a smash hit.
Brilliant.
So tweet us in at remake and
Yeah.
let us know.
Let us know who won, and we all know who won. We all know who won.
Listen, if you want a time travelling Jack on your, go for it. But if you want some great action and some great laughs along the way,
Okay, so tweet in hashtag esophagus if you want mine to win, and tweet in hashtag to bit shit if you want riches to win. So yeah, there you go. That was our remake. Also, we want you to tweet in as well, because we've got our remake film ready and waiting for next week. tell the viewers what it is.
Next
Rick.
week, we are
Viewers,
directing. We are directing. What are you on about?
don't know,
I mean, what am I on
Titanic.
about? Next week, we are remaking the Steven Spielberg classic, Jaws.
Did it. Did it.
We're remaking Jaws. So, guys, tweet in, and if you can, let us know how you remake Jaws.
And if we like it, we'll talk about it.
We might do.
But before we go, one last thing. We've just been told by Nick, he's literally just give us a thumbs up. We've actually 100%, we can't actually believe it, we've got Leonardo DiCaprio on the phone. You've heard it here first, guys. Right, just give us a second. We're going to... Okay. Hello, Leonardo?
Hey there, my mates. It's me, Leonardo DiCaprio, over there.
Leo, I can't believe we finally got in touch. We won't keep you too long. We know you're doing a bit of filming at the moment.
I'm very, very busy.
Listen, give us a few words. How was it on the Titanic?
I remember Titanic very well. It was very wet. And do you know that there, Kate Winslet?
Yeah.
Very lovely girl.
Leo, thank you so much for talking to Rich and Rach on the Ready Steady Remake, and we'll see you again soon. That was Leonardo DiCaprio, guys!
Mate, I can't believe we had Leo in the studio. What a great guy.
What a
We'll see you next week. Listen in.
Listen out.